civil rights movement. It probably came into being soon after the end of slavery. Like many African American spirituals, the song has more than one meaning. Not only does it refer to freedom in the world to come after death, but it celebrates new freedom in the here and now. African Americans and other minorities were no longer willing to sit back. They were ready to fight for their rights as American citizens.
Freedom. School Martin Luther King Assembly. We have been running this assembly for 29 years, and it is my honor to be presenting it today. Over 50 years ago, the Selma to Montgomery March and the Voting Rights Act, where black marchers went to Selma and presented on getting their voting rights. And even after the Emancipation Proclamation and the Union's victory in the Civil War, African Americans did not have the freedoms enjoyed by others. Especially in the southern states, they are victims to violence, prejudice, and laws designed to keep them segregated from white America and restrict their right to vote. Not until Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was there a national law that prohibited discrimination against African Americans and all other minorities in all the most important activities of American life.
But in Selma, Alabama, society would be registration attempts by local blacks. Only 2% were on the voting rolls. African Americans who dared to try to register via tests which they bring against them. Some of the questions voting authorities asked African Americans who want to vote were, how many bubbles are there in the bar of soap? Another was, explain and interpret the Constitution of the United States. Indeed, the Alabama literacy test included 67 questions about state and federal government, and anything short of 100% was grounds for rejection. So African Americans began demonstrating and protesting the injustice in many southern states.
On March 7, 1965, state troopers and a sheriff's posse from Selma, Alabama, attacked 525 civil rights demonstrators as they took part in a march from Selma to Montgomery, the state capital. The march was organized to promote black voter registration and to protest the killing of a young black man, shooting Lee Jackson, by a state trooper during the voter registration march. As the demonstrators, led by John Lewis, the student leader, crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, they were ordered by the police to disperse.
I asked if we could be allowed to pray first before turning around. To get password back for people to kneel and pray. Major John Cloud said, "Troopers, advance!" We saw us men put on their gas masks. They came toward us, beating us with nightsticks and bullwhips, trampling us with horses, releasing the tear gas. I was hit in the head by a state trooper with a nightstick. I thought I saw death. My name is Hosea Williams.
More than 57 demonstrators were injured. Black demonstrators lay on the floors and chairs, many of them weeping and moaning. A girl in red slacks is carried screaming. A woman lay semi-conscious. From the hospital came a report that the victims had suffered fractures of the ribs, heads, arms, and legs, in addition to cuts and bruises. News circulated instantly throughout the nation by television and wire services. People were stunned to hear of state-sponsored violence against people seeking the right to vote. The press called that day Bloody Sunday.
Martin Luther King made a speech that day, appealing to all freedom seekers to come join the demonstrations. That night, dispirited, and nursing their wounds around chapel, John Lewis and the veterans of the march were in the state. They gathered around the church praying. Then, suddenly, the doors opened.
I'm Reverend Robert Spears, a white Episcopal clergyman from Princeton, New Jersey. About 8 of us traveled to Alabama who saw the injustice on television. We came into the Brown Chapel, where the congregation had been going on for hours, praying and singing. We're the first outsiders to walk in on that congregation, and they went bananas. They were so glad to see us. They were very greatly encouraged by strangers coming from all over the country, many of them white.
My name is J.L. I was in the church that day. As a black person, nothing I had learned in college, law school, or in the army had led me to believe that white people from the north, even some from Alabama, would come to Selma and join hands with black folks and say, essentially, enough is enough. That day, we welcomed our brothers and sisters in arms.
inspiring and giving strength and courage to the civil rights movement. The singing along the way gave the marchers a voice and a common core theme. A call and response is an African communal African way of singing these songs to give strength and courage. And so what happens is the leader will sing a line, and the voices will respond. And so in this song, the first 3 lines I will sing and you will respond, and then the 4th line we will all sing together. And the MLK singers are going to show you how this is done. So.
to prevent police interference. That day, on March 9th, King led the second march on the Edmonds Bridge, this time backed up from people all over the country. But then, once again, the sea of blue stormtroopers faced them on the other side. Annie Cooper was told not to come back to her job as a nursing home assistant after she was spotted at a demonstration. So she showed up for more demonstrations. When Annie Cooper was manhandled by Sheriff Clark after she protested the beating of another demonstrator, she lost her cool. And with Martin Luther King standing right next to her, she hit Sheriff Clark straight in the face.
And wrestled me to the ground. The sheriff called Clark got on me and hit me over the eyes with a billy club. I couldn't get up because he was on my stomach, and there were 3 of them around me. Some of the protesters started to rage and wanted to fight. But Dr. King said, "Stay calm. Stay calm. No fighting. No fighting."
This time, King avoided a bloody confrontation by kneeling and praying in front of the troopers, which turned the line around. That night, 3 white clergymen were attacked outside of a cafe frequented by white racists. The Reverend James J. Reed, a Unitarian from Boston, was struck on the head and died 2 days later. Sympathy marches and demonstrations started across the country in major cities. President Johnson addressed this by saying it was wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow American citizens the right to vote. He compared this Selma March to the Battle of Lexington and Concord and the surrender at Appomattox.
In response, a district court judge issued permission, clearing the way for a 3rd march on Sunday, March 21st, 1965. This time accompanied by federal troops, 3,200 marchers left Selma on the first leg of the 54-mile journey. That Thursday, they arrived in Montgomery and marched to the Capitol with 25,000 marchers. The leaders attempted to petition Governor George Wallace, and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech on the Capitol steps. The march was hailed by several speakers as the greatest demonstration of the civil rights movement.
My name is Charles Jones, and I marched for 5 days from Selma to Montgomery. What amazed me was the crowd of black and white, men and women, Asians and Latinos, professionals and clergy, and teachers and lawyers and doctors of all colors and classes. I was awed that the organizing we had done in the rural counties had resulted in this massive community saying, "We must do the right thing." If I am smiling, it's because we made that on this marvelous country. On March 15th, days after watching the banners, President Lyndon B. Johnson presented a bill to Congress that would later become the Voter Rights Act of 1965. It outlawed discriminatory voting laws that had kept black people off the voting rolls, and provided federal examiners to oversee voter registration in cases where voting rights were endangered.
But the danger was not over. That night, on a lonely stretch of Highway 80, 4 Klansmen shot Viola Louisu, a white Michigan woman who was ferrying black marchers back to Selma. The next day, there was the announcement of the arrest of the suspects, and the president vowed to eliminate the Ku Klux Klan. In the Congress and in the Senate, the Voting Rights Act passed overwhelmingly. On August 6, 1965, John Lewis, a man who was recovering from the beating on Bloody Sunday, and Martin Luther King Jr. stood next to President Johnson as he signed the law.
college students. And one day, the South will know that when these students sat down at lunch counters, they were really standing up for what is best in the American dream.
And I don't mind telling you this morning that sometimes I feel discouraged. I felt discouraged in Chicago. Moving through Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi, I sometimes feel discouraged. Living every day under the threat of death, I sometimes feel discouraged. Living every day under extensive criticisms, even from blacks, I sometimes feel discouraged. Yes, sometimes I feel discouraged and feel my work's in vain, but then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
legacy of Martin Luther King remains with us and inspires us daily. We at Fenn, a number of years ago, decided that one way that we could inspire and draw inspiration from our own community here was to actually create a Martin Luther King Award. And that award is something that we give a great deal of thought to. We consider all the members of the Fenn community, students and teachers and staff and trustees, parents and others. And each year a group of us convene to consider who might, in a given year, be an apt recipient for the award. This year we have 3 individuals who will receive the Martin Luther King Award. And I'd like to, if I could, just read a bit from a script that explains more precisely the criteria for the award. The recipients will have exhibited an extraordinary form of leadership in one or more of the following areas: promoting and advancing mutual respect, understanding, and appreciation for the cultural and ethnic diversity within our Fenn community; raising awareness of social injustice; speaking or acting on behalf of justice and fairness; celebrating diversity; and finally, impelling action in building a better future for all. It's my honor to present the award to the first recipient this year, and it is Jen Yuxi, wherever she is. She's here. As we discussed Jen, we were so struck and appreciative of the many things that she has given to the Fenn community in the spirit of Martin Luther King. As you may know, she's our Assistant Director of Diversity, but it is a position that is one of service. And so there are so many dimensions of what we do here at the Fenn School that develops in our students and develops in all of us as we take to heart the principles of really honoring diversity and doing our very best to do good in the world. I think of the work, as we all did, that Jen does in creating our cultural arts festival every year. We think of the tireless work that she does with the diversity committees that students are part of. We think as well of the work that she does to create a number of events for parents of students of color. We think as well of the Fenn Diversity Institute that helps continue to educate all of our faculty and staff. And we think as well of all of the work, right down to the small details such as the diversity car wash in May. That Ms. Yuxi is always there and present, and so many of the times she's arranged for it all. It really is done in a kind of selfless way, and in a way that for sure knits the community together to really advance our honoring of diversity. So I will read from the back of the medal here that is being presented to Jen, and it reads, presented by the Fenn School to Jennifer Yuxi for helping further the dream of MLK, January 14, 2015.
The first person I ever met at Fenn when I was a nervous parent about to apply. But more important than that, Ms. Schnellenberger has been deeply involved in diversity issues at Fenn. As a member of the Faculty and Staff Diversity Committee and the only staff member on the Fenn Diversity Institute Planning Committee, she's been behind many of the workshops and conferences that are the opportunities for our faculty and staff to develop their understanding of diversity and equity and multiculturalism. Now, Ms. Schnellenberger doesn't stop there. She's working outside of Fenn tirelessly as a volunteer principal. She's a board member of 1 penny per mile, which raises money for clean energy. And inside of Fenn, she has put her mark in a creative way on so much much, so many aspects of Fenn life. She makes, paints theater sets. She's helped to write and direct many productions of The Christmas Carol. She's taught a workshop at the Cultural Arts Festival ever since it began. And nearest to my heart, before technology took over, she used to compose and sing a special song for every snow day. Somehow, Ms. Schnellenberger also finds time to teach art and to work in the admissions office and to share her special smile with everyone at MLK. Concern for fairness and equity to everybody. So that was a gift worth celebrating.
In researching about the third recipient, I found something that really touched me. I hadn't seen this incredible document. And I'm just so glad that the committee saw it fit to pick this person and also gave me the chance to read this document. This person is involved in a lot of things, at Finn and outside of Finn. He volunteers a lot here in the school and outside. The document I found was a letter written by a woman called Mary Rice to the President of the United States during her time, called Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln had responded to the letter she wrote. The letter was signed by students like you, maybe about your age, asking the president to do his personal best to abolish slavery, especially slavery that holds young people like them. And he responded. What he said was, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. He says, he writes back to these children here in Concord and says, the petition of persons under 18, English at that time was a little different, praying that I would free all slave children, and the heading of which petition, it appears, he wrote, was handed me a few days since by Senator Sumner. Please tell these little people I'm very glad their young hearts are so full of just and generous sympathy, and that while I have not the power to grant all they ask, I trust they will remember that God has, and that as it seems, he wills to do it. Yours truly, Abraham Lincoln. And this reminded me so much so that this is exactly what Rob Morrison is all about. He's about making sure we don't forget the mistakes of the past, we remember the goodness of the past and repeat them and make changes where harm has been done, injustice has been done. I want to present this, it's my honor to present this to Rob Morrison, who's probably up there in total shock.
So I'd like to now please call the head of the Alani Choir to please come and present you with your certificate.
easy. Especially after we just got an award. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. Next song we're gonna sing is "Oh Happy Day." It's from a movie, Sister Act. Or at least the rendition that we're doing is from that movie. Any of you seen that movie? Probably before some of your times. Alright. Feel free to sing along though. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Yeah. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away. Oh, it was a happy day. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away. Oh, it was a happy day. Oh, he taught me how to watch and pray, to fight and pray. Oh, and he taught me how to live rejoicing. Oh, every day, every day, every day, every day. Oh, oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away. Oh, happy day. It was a happy, happy day. Talking about a happy, happy day. You guys can sing this part along. Happy, happy day. Talking about a happy, happy day. Whoa, happy, happy day. Talking about a happy, happy day. Oh, it was a happy, happy day. Talking about a happy day. It was a happy day. It was a happy day. Hey, let me hear you sing it now. Hey, I can hear you festival singing now. Oh, because I'm happy. Oh, 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 it was a day. God is singing now. Happy, happy day. Talking about happy, happy day.
And like anyone, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned with that now. I just want to do God's will. and He's allowed me to go up the mountain. And I have looked over, and I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know that tonight, we as a people will get to the promised land. With these words, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. built a crescendo on his final speech on the night of April 3rd, 1968. The next day, the civil rights leader was shot and killed on a balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee.
Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Going home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Troubles of the world. Troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Going home to live with God. No more weeping and a wailing. No more weeping and a wailing. No more weeping and a wailing. Going home to live with God. Hallelujah. Now we'll be done with the troubles of the world. Troubles of the world. Troubles of the world. Now we'll be done with the troubles of the world. Going home to live with God. I'm gonna see my Jesus. I'm gonna see my Jesus. I'm gonna see my Jesus going home to live with God. Troubles of the world, troubles of the world, troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Going home to live with God. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Going home to live with God. Troubles of the world, troubles of the world, troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Going home to live with God. Going home to heaven. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Going home to live with God. To live with God.
We can all refuse violence. We can refuse it in our speech. We can refuse it in our entertainment. We can refuse it in our sports. We can refuse it in our children's games, especially video games. We can model a more wise and gracious and nonviolent way of living. We can model dialogue, listening respectfully to those who disagree with us. We can risk being changed by listening enough to understand another's pain, another's point of view. On a very immediate and practical level, we can take the small steps of sending our message of solidarity, hope, and sympathy to the people in pain. But perhaps the most important thing we can do is not to give in to despair, to continue to work, to continue to hope, to continue to believe in grace, the possibility of a future without violence. Reverend Linda Quaddy.
and then
Before we have our reflection, I want to thank everybody, especially parents who joined us today, and friends, and say thank you to the students especially. This is just really amazing how much work they put into this. And of course, to thank our wonderful band, led by Mr. Seth. One boy who was extraordinarily great. Reed Gatlin, someone was sick and he just couldn't make it today. And he decided yesterday in the night and this morning to try to memorize that part of the class. I tried to read it, really wanted to do it well, and he came out and he actually tried to memorize 2 parts and to read them today. Reed, thank you. The techies, thank you so much, and you all do a great job. Faculty and staff, of course, we couldn't have had this day without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as we reflect today on the words of Mrs. Terenzia, let's think about everybody who's contributed to this. I'm sure I'm leaving someone out, but thank you.
May all of us here trust one another so surely that we may share the deep fires that burst into anger as much as the sweet spring waters that swell into laughter, the slow erosion of wounded tears as much as the soaring songs. May these walls know silence as 100 hearts search inward, each for its own small spark of hope that might otherwise be snuffed out by the noise. May these rafters hear the voice of the child as surely as that of the orator, and the sound of the lute, and the clack of the typewriter, and the swish of the broom, and know that all are holy as the shout of a million stars. May the rain fall lightly upon us, and the sun shine warmly, and the winds blow softly, and bless us in this place of joy and peace.
Victory is mine.
Cake celebration for 2015. And there is one person who was not thanked properly from the stage, and I know everyone knows who I am talking about. This day, this creation, from the start, many years ago, to now, to the present, to what we experience today, reflects the vision and the hard work and the inspiration of Mr. Kobla. So, Tete Kobla, thank you. Is mine. Let's go. Victory is mine. Victory is mine. Victory is here, all our friends, and certainly to, again, to COVID, everyone who helped create this, and certainly the Noble Marino singers and all of the MLK. And guys, you have been a tremendous audience, so thank you. We are going to do a regular dismissal if we could. A little bit of background music is great, and we will continue. So let's, then we will be heading to class, and we are having the seniors withdraw first. So the seniors committee